Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Monday, June 10th, 2024. Have you ever made homemade juice before? We're headed to eastern Uganda to see how they blend and strain native fruits and vegetables to create a refreshing and nutritious drink. Also in Uganda, one of our field messengers shows us the herbs and spices she sells at the local market, which are packed with flavor and great for medicinal purposes too. As we awaken and learn more about our history, we may choose to leave old beliefs behind, such as religion, a big step for many people. Meta's plan to use their popular social media platforms to train AI isn't going over too well in Europe. Many are calling it an abuse of personal data. You've heard about the flooding in Brazil, and now the wetlands are facing intense fires. The number is up nearly tenfold this year.
This is Calen Giff, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Preparing homemade juice is a fantastic way to ensure everyone enjoys fresh, nutritious beverages. UNN field messenger Nabirye Annet shows us how she makes juice for her family.
My name is Nabirye Annet, field messenger UNN News, Eastern Uganda. Today we are making African juice using passion fruits, pineapple, watermelon, and carrots. I'm removing the passion fruits from the fork, like this. So this is the passion fruit, and this is the watermelon, the pineapple, and the carrots. So we are going to pour together, and we mix. We put some little water. The boiled water. Receiving the juice. Not this ends. You have to make sure that the juice is over. We make this juice without sugar because most people here don't take sugar. So this is the juice. It's very nice. This is Nabirye Annet, UNN News, Eastern Uganda.
Herbs and spices have been used for centuries to enhance food flavor and for their medicinal properties. Many cultures recognize their healing powers. UNN field messenger Namusis Janati demonstrates how to make herbal tea using spices from her store.
Hello, I'm Namusis Janati, field messenger for United Network News, coming to you from Eastern Uganda. Today, I wanted to show you my spiced herb at my store here at the Bugembe Central Market. Let me tell you how I get my spices and herbs. Turmeric, ginger, rosemary, black pepper, cinnamon, I can get locally grown. Other spices I get from bigger market in Kampala, 2 hours from here, and I bring it to my store for my region. These herbs that I'm pointing at are to make a herbal space tea that can help with diabetes, blood pressure, prostate cancer, infections like a UTI, ease digestion, fibroids, and ulcers. Once home, I'm mixing the spice and the herbs together in a small container. Then take half tea of mixing, put in a cup, add hot water, some people like to add sugar. It is that simple. Enjoy. Thank you for watching me. This is Namusis Janati from UNN.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN field messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
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 It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
As the truth about our history continues to be revealed on our planet, more and more people may decide to leave their old belief systems behind. One of the biggest belief systems potentially holding many people back is religion. Kelly Balker became a channeler later in life, but before that, she was very much involved in her church. Today, Kelly shares with us how her religion, both the good and the not so good, played an important role in her life. All right, so Kelly is back with us today. Kelly, today's topic, I think, is going to resonate with a lot of our audience, and that is your background, and my background too. We both come from more of a religious background, going to church, participating in various, I'll call them rituals or dogma, things like that. And we both made a choice to step away at a certain point. And I would love to learn a little bit more about what that experience was like for you, because we know more and more people are doing this now, and there's a flood of emotions and everything that comes with that, right?
Yes. It is a great deal of the teaching of my guides, actually, around, it really boils down to loving yourself and trusting yourself and having faith. My first book is called Redefining Faith, and that really does sum this up, because on my journey, as these happenings started to occur, I was looking for signs. I would look for signs and I would look for validation in some way. And when you go online, different people like me who's had these kinds of experiences can share all kinds of really cool signs and proof. I didn't get any of it. And I would say to my guides, why am I not getting this? And they said, because yours is a journey of faith. Yours is a journey of faith. So what does it mean to live a life of faith? So I stepped away from the dogma that told me I had to trust everything that was outside of myself, and I had to turn away from what my own inner voice said. Yeah. And that never resonated with me. When I was a little girl and I could feel the love of Jesus in my heart, I still, when they would tell me that my Jehovah Witness friends or my Catholic friends were going to hell, I'm like, but the God that I love so much, there's no way that they're going to send my beautiful friends who I knew loved God to hell. That just made no darn sense to me. So I felt that pull, and I can also share with the people who hear this that our planet, the frequency of our planet is changing all the time. It is raising. It doesn't take 2-hour meditations to connect with source energy any longer. It is a much faster thing. And you're seeing it all the time. More people are popping up like me with these abilities. So there was a lot of guilt. There was guilt. There was fear. I still went because it is about surrendering. I am surrendering, but I'm surrendering with my intention. I set my intention. My intention is for love and light. My intention is to connect with the all. That is my intention. And we have free will. And free will in this dimension is absolute. Our free will is the winning card of the game. So with my free will, I set my intention that I am about nothing besides love and light, and then I surrender. And I feel the love. I feel the love. And when you have that experience, it will give you that validation that you're looking for, that you are on the right journey, that we were designed in the image of the Creator, that Jesus told us that we had all of his abilities and more. Yep. And yet we've been trained and told that we're less than, that we need to have someone else telling us what's right and wrong. Our heart can tell us what's right and wrong. So I guess for me, it is about love. The fabric of our world and beyond, the creative isness is love. And when you use your own heart and your heart quickens to something, to an idea, that is your spirit saying, yes, baby, you're on the right track.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's tough too, because a lot of us grew up in religious families, and part of most religions is to get whoever to believe in whatever it is that you believe. So the moment that you start to step away, people think you're going to hell. They want to save you. There's all these things. And the way I explain it to people is that I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm more joyful. I'm connected. There's so many beautiful things that are happening. And it's tough because what they're saying does not line up with how I'm feeling. But that's part of the struggle too, right? Is responding to that type of criticism.
It is. But one of the most glorious things is, for the first time in my life, I have no feeling like I need to convince anybody of anything. I know my truth. I live my truth. That's a wonderful, free place to be. And I invite you all to join me because it's fabulous.
A local farmer in Ireland has turned his 27-acre farm into a forest haven, transforming his once tree-barren land into a temperate rainforest using a technique he calls rewilding. This rewilding approach focuses on inhibiting certain invasive elements so that the land's heritage features can take hold and grow. The farmer began by focusing his efforts on erecting fences to deter goats and non-native deer from eating vital undergrowth. Next, he began slowly eliminating invasive plant species that were restricting natural forest growth. In just 14 years, this experiment in environmental restoration has begun to yield impressive results, including the return of native trees, wildflowers, fauna, and wildlife to the area. This initiative showcases the vast potential of rewilding as a solution to restoring native ecosystems without the need for new tree planting to reach ecological goals. Rewilding is a great example of how we, as humans, can work with nature to help restore our world. In Australia, an organization called Drought Angels is helping farmers hit by natural disasters like droughts, floods, fires, and plagues. Founded in 2014, they offer financial aid, food hampers, care packs, and mental health support. These services are crucial as studies from 2021 reveal the suicide rate for farmers is 59% higher than the national average. Drought Angels support farmers through phone calls and in-person farm visits. By offering personalized assistance, the organization helps farmers remain on their land, which boosts Australia's regional economies, ensures food security, and enhances the local well-being of rural communities, which started as an effort to support Queensland farmers struggling with the effects of a 10-year drought, now supports more than 4,700 farmers in more than 1,300 communities across Australia. The efforts of Drought Angels supports farmers so they don't have to face these tough challenges alone. Drought Angels continue to make a profound impact, ensuring the sustainability and resilience of Australia's farming communities. For years, humans and dogs have made great search and rescue teams. Now, in a groundbreaking initiative led by a doctor from Glasgow, Scotland, rats are being trained to help in earthquake rescues too. The project, named Hero Rats, involves strapping tiny backpacks equipped with various technologies onto their backs before sending them into mock disaster zones. Because they are small and agile, rats can easily move through rubble without triggering landmines. The custom-made packs come equipped with microphones, video cameras, and location trackers. This equipment enables rescue teams to talk to survivors and pinpoint their exact locations, transmitting real-time audio and video from disaster zones to their human counterparts. Unlike dogs, the rats' natural agility and ability to squeeze into tight spaces make them ideal for such search and rescue operations. With 170 rats being trained for various rescue missions, this innovative approach promises to save lives in disaster-prone areas, proving that good things really do often come in small packages. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia.
Denmark,
Canada.
Uganda.
From Atlanta in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. The European Union, or EU, is struggling with fiscal challenges as it reinstates strict financial rules suspended during the COVID-19 pandemic. Countries must adhere to rules capping national debt at 60% of GDP and budget deficits at 3%, with penalties for noncompliance. A 2024 reform allows more fiscal flexibility, enabling negotiations on restoring fiscal order. During a panel, concerns were raised about the EU's fragmented capital market and the need for better mobilization of private investment. Discussions touched on joining EU borrowing to finance common goals, though resistance persists from some member states. Proposals include implementing an EU-wide wealth tax and progressive environmental taxes to ensure the wealthy contribute fairly to climate efforts. An area of Frankfurt, Germany has seen a significant decline in recent years, mainly due to rising crime and a visible drug problem. Many tenants have left, women feel unsafe, and rents have stagnated. The pandemic has worsened the situation, driving more people to the streets. Despite past efforts to revitalize the area with trendy restaurants and bars, many now avoid it. The area is critical as it houses many jobs and serves as a gateway for tourists. The city has increased policing, introduced weapon-free zones, and installed surveillance cameras to improve safety. However, the drug problem persists, with a focus now on the more aggressive crack cocaine. Efforts to address this include better drug treatment facilities and urging other cities to adopt similar policies. A recent report alleges Ikea is linked to the destruction of old-growth forests in Romania. The report names 7 Ikea suppliers responsible for damaging protected sites, with resulting products found in Ikea stores across 13 countries, including France, Germany, and the UK. Ikea disputes these claims, citing compliance with environmental standards. However, environmental campaigners argue corruption in Romania and flaws in the Forest Stewardship Council certification system enable such practices. Critics claim Ikea is exploiting loopholes and pushing for less stringent definitions of old-growth forests to enable logging. Calls for legally binding EU regulations are growing to ensure true protection and restoration of Europe's biodiverse regions. Meta's plan to use public Facebook and Instagram posts to train AI tools has faced backlash from digital rights groups. Users in the UK and Europe were notified their public content, including posts, images, image captions, comments, and stories, could be used to, quote, develop and improve, end quote, AI products beginning June 26. This excludes private messages. Critics argue this practice constitutes an abuse of personal data for AI and have filed complaints with multiple data protection authorities across Europe. Meta maintains its actions are compliant with privacy laws. Users can opt out, but the process has been criticized as burdensome and discouraging. Meta insists the process is legally compliant, but even those without a Meta account could have some information used if they appear in public posts by others. Hundreds of people protested in Ghana's capital on Saturday against ongoing power outages impacting businesses and daily life. Dressed in red and black, demonstrators marched through the city, calling for a stable power supply. They chanted patriotic songs and carried lanterns to symbolize their plight, causing traffic disruptions in the evening. Ghana, despite being an early adopter of electrification in Africa, continues to face chronic power shortages and capacity issues. Ordinary citizens expressed their frustration, noting the power cuts' effects on health and livelihoods. Protesters criticized the government's alleged failure to secure necessary fuel, carrying signs such as "No light, no progress," and "Electricity is a right, not a privilege." South Africa is facing severe income inequality and high unemployment, with more than 30% of its population jobless. The government aims to address this through a universal basic income plan. The proposal, now backed for implementation within 2 years, promises regular cash payments to all adults with no conditions. Other countries like Kenya have similar programs, and various U.S. cities are testing guaranteed basic incomes. In South Africa, the Universal Basic Income proposal promises broader economic security for all citizens. The government is exploring funding options, such as new taxes, to support the initiative without replacing current Social Security programs. If successful, South Africa would be the first nation to provide a universal basic income. Fires in Brazil's Pantanal wetlands have surged nearly tenfold this year, reaching the highest level since 2020. Satellite data shows a 980% increase in the number of fires through June 5th compared to the same time last year. This rise in wildfires has raised concerns as the region enters its most dangerous season, typically from July to September. The Pantanal, a vast area home to diverse wildlife, has experienced weak rain since late last year, leaving it more susceptible to fires. The unusual climate conditions, including a delayed rainy season due to the El Niño phenomenon, have worsened the situation. In response, the government signed a pact with regional leaders to combat wildfires, and an environmental emergency has been declared in affected areas. The Malaysian government is addressing its long-standing water issues, focusing on infrastructure upgrades and tariff adjustments. In February of 2024, water tariffs were increased to fund new treatment plants and repair aging infrastructure. Despite anticipated public discontent, the tariff hike is seen as essential for the industry's sustainability. Residents in 11 states will experience a marginal increase in their monthly water bills. Meanwhile, long-term water supply agreements and potential new projects, such as an underground dam, are under consideration to address growing demands and ensure a stable water supply. Local communities continue to advocate for better water access, highlighting the ongoing struggles faced by residents with irregular water deliveries. Turkey has announced a 40% additional tariff on vehicle imports from China to protect its domestic automakers and stabilize its trade balance. Effective July 7th, the tariff will be at least $7,000 per vehicle. This decision aims to counteract China's heavily subsidized electric vehicle exports, which have been a global concern. The European Commission is also considering similar measures. Turkey's trade ministry says the tariff targets conventional and hybrid passenger vehicles and aims to boost domestic production. This move is expected to make imported cars more expensive for Turkish consumers, encouraging them to buy locally produced vehicles and potentially reducing the current $45.2 billion trade deficit. In the U.S., the practice of charging facility fees by hospitals has come under scrutiny for contributing to rising healthcare costs. A recent report highlights consolidation in the healthcare industry is driving up prices for patients. Facility fees are added to hospital bills, even for minor procedures, significantly increasing the overall cost of care. These charges are burdening patients through higher insurance premiums and direct expenses. Critics argue the consolidation of physician practices by hospitals is incentivized by government policies that pay higher rates for hospital-based care. Despite calls for reforms, legislative efforts to mitigate these costs have stalled. The American Hospital Association defends these fees, citing the necessity of maintaining round-the-clock services and readiness for emergencies. Also in the U.S., lab-developed tests, especially at-home diagnostics, are surging despite growing concerns. Companies like Everlywell market these tests as wellness tools, bypassing strict FDA approvals through virtual doctor reviews. Social media platforms have become arenas where doctors caution against using these tests. Everlywell faces a class action lawsuit for alleged misleading marketing, but the company insists its tests are clinically validated and essential for healthcare access, especially in underserved areas. The FDA raised concerns in a 2015 report about the safety and reliability of lab-developed tests, calling for stricter oversight. Advocates for self-testing argue waiting for conventional medical approval delays critical care, particularly for urgent conditions. As long as traditional healthcare remains slow, experts foresee a growing trend of individuals seeking alternative testing solutions. Adobe's recent terms update has ignited widespread anger amongst professional users of its Creative Cloud apps. The update seemed to imply Adobe could claim rights over users' work, and users had no choice but to accept the terms to continue using the apps or seek support. High-profile users expressed their confusion and anger publicly, but Adobe's initial response, dismissive in tone, didn't help matters. The firm later clarified through a blog post the terms aim to explain content checks for features like Photoshop neural filters and tackling prohibited content. Adobe assured users their content would not be used to train generative AI models, and the company would never assume ownership of their work. The firm plans to further clarify the terms presented to users. A new ride-hailing service, Blackwolf app, is expanding its operations in the U.S., offering riders the option to choose armed drivers. The company, now available in Atlanta, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, aims to provide safer rides by hiring drivers with backgrounds in law enforcement, the military, or security sectors. Blackwolf services are designed for those seeking peace of mind during their travels. Riders can select from Blackwolf Premium with screen drivers or Blackwolf Armed for drivers carrying guns. The founder launched Blackwolf to address safety concerns, particularly for women, after being inspired by a friend's experience with sex trafficking. The company claims to receive numerous messages from women feeling unsafe with other ride-hailing services. In Australia, a new bill has been introduced that would force businesses to accept cash as a form of payment. The bill's proponent argues while cash use is declining, Australians should have the freedom to choose how they will pay for what they purchase, not financial institutions or businesses. The proposed legislation highlights, although banknotes and coins are legal tender, there is currently no legal requirement for businesses to accept them. This situation means carrying cash does not guarantee the ability to complete a purchase if a business refuses it. Concerns have been raised about the practicality of a cashless society, especially for older citizens who fear losing security, freedom of choice, and independence. An advocacy group has started a campaign promoting the acceptance of cash, mobilizing members to distribute "We Accept Cash" stickers to local businesses. Dairy farmers across Australia are facing tough decisions as milk prices are set to drop. Many farmers are already struggling with high costs and the prospect of losing workers. The decline in Australia's milk production, which has been ongoing for more than 20 years, continues as cheaper imports of cheese and butter from New Zealand increase. Recent good weather and decent irrigation supplies have offered some relief, but the price cuts threaten the future viability of farms, particularly those that have been family-run for generations. The mandatory code introduced after the 2016 milk price crisis helped stabilize the market temporarily, but rising inflation and global market volatility have pressured dairy processors to lower the prices. Farmers worry these price cuts will further strain regional employment and local economies. Even with previously high milk prices, many farmers left the industry and more are expected to follow now. We have an exciting new announcement. We have launched a new global TV service specifically for the UNN community. Thousands of live TV channels, 60,000 movies on demand, over 30 languages, and live sports from around the globe. Between all the separate streaming services and cable for live TV and sports packages, it could cost well over $200 a month. But now with United TV, you can have it all for only $15.99 a month. Go to unitedtv.org and check it out. Get so much more for so much less. And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The Global Asset Agreement expired yesterday. Find out what this was and how it affects the power of the people. Global martial law was officially canceled for the third time in the last 10 years. The move to a peace agreement changes the rules of the financial system for the better. As the deep state struggles to keep governments alive, their continued failures are all but ensuring their demise. Living in a world without global governance is going to take a lot of work and preparation from the people. Are we ready? Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim.
Good morning. Still morning here.
Yeah, it's still morning. Good Monday morning.
Yeah, good Monday morning.
That did not sound convincing, Kim.
It doesn't really matter, you know. There's no such thing as a weekend over here, so it's okay. Speaking of weekends, so there's a lot of different things that the deep state is trying to do. And I can respect that, but you know, it's not really going anywhere. And we're kind of at this, well, they are, I should say, they're kind of at this stalemate where everything they're trying is not working. They keep promising contracts over and over and over again, and that's not working. They keep hoping for a special day, such as yesterday, to catapult them to the next level where they could actually do something. Now, the reason why yesterday was so important to them, it was also important to us in a number of different ways, was because of a global asset control expiration. This in part had a lot to do with the dollar and the backing for the dollar, because all commodities and rare earth minerals and whatnot are all traded in US dollars: diamonds, gold, silver, platinum, rhodium, oil, gas, everything has been traded in US dollars for a long time.
Right.
So for the deep state's part, they actually thought that the expiration of this agreement was going to set those assets free for them to use, and therefore at the same time crash the US dollar and allow for them to reassign those assets to other financial systems, multiple different ones they tried, in order to create a financial system that they could control. So that being said, this also ties into their plan to launch global martial law in the news. So in other words, face front. So they tried to get a hold of what we call the International Central Securities Depository, which held a lot of those bonds and derivatives and, you know, all of the futures contracts and whatnot that was attached to these assets. But they must have forgotten that all of those were just an interim stopping point for transference and ultimate lien by the alpha system in order to release an allocation number. The alpha system's programming for said securities depository transferred over to the light system, and it was business as usual for us. There was some changes regarding these securities because now most of these assets have been broken up into around 8 billion pieces. So that means that the liens on these assets are not necessarily held by us. They are held in trust by the global repository now that the expiration is there. And then secondly, the actual beneficiary for all of these assets is you, divided into billions of pieces. This made them quite unhappy, to say the least, that their systems didn't work. But that didn't mean they didn't continue trying through this morning various things. This goes to some of those contracts that were promised yesterday. There was a lot of people arriving into various zones, including this one. It was helicopter after helicopter after helicopter this weekend of new arrivals expecting contracts. And of course, no contracts were given out, and they were unsuccessful. They actually didn't even show up for the first two, and then they made up some story for the people saying that they needed to issue a bond for whatever operation they were going to run. Therefore, they could submit it into the system and then pull an allocation number out for it. I know.
So that was just a way for them to stall or to kind of get them off their back?
Yeah, I guess so, until they could try to figure something out. So possible solutions they had. They had tried to connect various old operating systems to the treasury system, hoping that they were still at least semi-active in the financial system. Said systems would be BlackRock's old Aladdin system. You remember that from a couple of years ago? And therefore, they thought that this system, if they could just upload basically the software again, that it was the software for Aladdin that actually ran BlackRock's backdoor commodities futures trading system. But that is not the case. It was actually backed by an Omega system that BlackRock had permission to attach to. Right. The same thing goes for a private security group known as Citadel. Now, you've heard me mention Citadel a number of times. I also mentioned them in our talks online with Tom Melville because he has had some run-ins with Citadel as well. And Citadel had a security contract for the Treasury Department. So therefore, they were also promised the security contract once again for the financial system that they were now going to install. Needless to say, none of that actually functioned or actually worked and continued not to work. Now, based on another attempt, so we talked about us filing for global martial law a couple years ago. Right. And when we filed global martial law, we filed it with us and the Global Intelligence Agency as the administrator. To some degree, there was when the Guardian declares global martial law, it goes all the way up to the top, which means there were some old standing orders from the old global martial law agreement of 16,000 years ago, which put Marduk, or the person with that title, in charge, or being, I should say. It wasn't a person. And Therefore, there was some standing orders and a few other things still left in computers tied to this. One of those standing orders was for instructions that would come out sometime within 3 days of the new moon prior to the solstice, in a hope of returning back to a dark time. Now, the solstice begins, I should say the equinox actually is what begins the new year on, and I would say of light control each year, because it is the days are longer, we have more sunlight. It was the time of light in order to keep balance. And then in the fall, we would return to darkness. Well, under global martial law, as long as there was war present, hence the reason why they keep trying to make war everywhere, that there would be a contingency and some monetary transfer out against war bonds, which would transfer out each year around this time, so right before the solstice, to ensure that we didn't get too light. You know, if there was war, then that means we're still falling under global martial law rules. Well, all that was reversed out within the last 24 hours. So we are now under the light system's peace operating system. And when you are at a time of peace for financial system rules, that means that bonds no longer are able to be issued. Now, this is evident from some conversations that took place this weekend. Allegedly, a few things are going to transpire. So let me tell you about those. Supposedly, the Federal Reserve is getting ready to release some public information related to their viability and ability to manage the U.S. monetary policy. So we'll see if that actually takes place. There is also a negotiation going on for 5 board members to retire. Now, the reason why I believe this is going on is because the Treasury, run by the Order of the Black Sun, is supposed to, according to the order, take over for the Federal Reserve worldwide. So it's all, for them, it's all about control of the financial system. But this also was semi-dependent on the fact that they were attempting to install the BlackRock and Citadel systems into the Treasury Department this weekend in an attempt to revive an old financial system or revive a new financial system using things that they can control. However, with that failure, will we see any public announcements? It's kind of like the same thing that they do with Donald Trump. One minute, you know, they're going to start announcing he's this, you know, going to pass away, all this kind of stuff. And that was actually discussed this weekend too, had they have been successful. Well, when there's no success on their end of it, they continue to use their cash cow and its name in order to generate what little funds they generate so they can continue operations. And I believe the same thing will take place with this whole Federal Reserve takeover of the Federal Reserve by the Treasury. But again, you know, I understand everybody's having issues. I understand the other side is having a lot of issues. I'm still having a lot of phone calls with people I haven't talked to in forever, you know, trying to be my best friend. So I know they're looking for information. I know they're listening to some of the phone calls I have in an attempt to try to see if there's anything that they can do on their end of it. Like if I mention a system or something like that, that they can actually take over, or what can we do to go it alone and fix things on our side? Will she give us any information? Well, I may be blonde, but I'm not dumb. So I give them exactly the information that I want to give them to make them go hunt and peck somewhere. Right. BlackRock, Vanguard, I know about all those systems that used to exist. I know what they were tied to. I know the base operating system behind it, and it's just never going to work. And now that we've reversed out the original ties to the old global martial law, the standing orders, the monetary system connections to intelligence systems and military systems and all of that, in fake money, because there are no allocations for that money, they won't ever see any of that either. But government's ability to issue new bonds, not just based on liquidity like we did before, because they were showing fake numbers on screens and trying to bypass it and use loopholes for a long time. Not only that, but now bonds are not valid in the financial system anymore, especially government bonds and military bonds and military vouchers. They use Department of Defense vouchers a lot to factor against to get equipment and those types of things. Mm-hmm. So we won't be seeing any more of that happen, and the allowance for credit lines against those things.
So is the point in doing that to really get rid of things they could use to kind of fool people and just kind of continue this charade? Is that the idea to...
Well, the idea behind it is, their predominant way of bypassing the fact that they don't have allocations at this moment is to show some kind of an asset. It can be something from old paperwork, from old Chinese elders from 1975, and they're just showing it on their balance sheet as an asset. And this is for governments predominantly. Everybody else just gets a whole lot of promises and absolutely zero delivery. Mm-hmm. So the issues that they're running into is, as an example, there were many people that do not work for the U.S. Treasury Department in the U.S. Treasury yesterday trying to issue, or over the weekend, I should say, several times, trying to issue Treasury bonds, from old matured bonds because the numbers are still valid. That's one of the tricks they're trying to do, or trying to extend those bonds for another 10 years or whatever it is, just so they remain an asset on hand. That did not work out. They couldn't validate the numbers anymore. Mm-hmm. For the old bonds. They were just simply not in the system. Or some of them that were still in the system. So, for example, maybe they, matured within the last few weeks or something like that. They tried to replicate those. So if there was one, say, $1 billion bond that the Treasury Department had issued, they would try to issue another 100 billion, $1 billion bonds over and over and over again. They also tried using the old assignments that I had done. Remember, I showed you that in 2022, I think, and I can revise that. But remember, I was showing on the screen, it was bond after bond after bond that I had assigned to the Federal Reserve, to the Treasury, to the military. They were trying to re-up those without my consent as well this weekend. God bless them. Next, the next thing that we're hearing about is that BRICS would like to also create a viable alternative to the U.S. dollar and to the Federal Reserve financial system, and they believe that they can do this within the next 5 years.
So what are people going to do in the meantime?
Yeah, exactly. What are we going to do for 5 years, huh? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. There is also a lot of talk about allegedly Saudi Arabia walking away from the U.S. dollar and a few other countries doing the same. Some join BRICS, then they leave BRICS, and they join BRICS, and they leave BRICS, and then now they've got a viable solution in their mind being offered by the Rothschild family for them to run the currency for the entire Middle East, which, of course, will never happen. There was also an additional attempts to re-leverage assets that are no longer in North Korea. They had to go verify that, figured out that that part's true. They also tried to leverage again the oil and gas in the Gaza Strip region. That also failed because they felt like it wasn't registered. They're looking for any viable asset that is acceptable to the financial system to leverage that they believe has not yet been leveraged.
But everything's been leveraged, correct?
Oh, yes, everything's been leveraged.
Okay.
That was the purpose of the Global Asset Fund. Okay. And all its securities tied there, too. So for their side of it, that's kind of where they're at. I believe they've told everybody, we should know more by Tuesday afternoon, tomorrow, as far as them and their contracts. So there's some positive things that have happened for us. I mean, officially declaring peace for a third time now, because we've gone back to martial law and then back away from it, back to martial law and then back away from it, is a positive thing for us, because the financial system rules will also change in accordance with the peace agreement. We tried martial law, like I said, and we talked about last week. We tried giving the militaries a shot. We tried giving the operatives a shot, the people a shot. But you know what? Time's up, and we can't wait for you any longer. And while I appreciate all your 9,000 meetings and 15,000 conference calls that are being promised, and the can keeps getting kicked, but we don't have any more cans over here to kick, and we're kind of done with that. So the opportunities to keep government alive are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And although for the normal people it would be good, I think, to have some kind of semblance of order, we may end up with just state governments at this point. I'm not sure. And that's worldwide. That's not just or provincial governments or whatever. Right. Not to say that they're not any less corrupt than the federal governments are, but, you still got to have things like the fire department, police department, and those types of things for a while, or really bad things could happen. Sure. So we need to have some kind of semblance of order, especially for people that have no idea what we're talking about right now, until things turn around. We have a lot of societal programs that have been running for a long, long time on every level of your human. And, the older you are, the more adept you become to habitual things. There's a lot of people out there that you don't know anything about what we're talking about, and they're talking about doom and gloom and presidents, and and they can't stop it. What are they going to do? How panicked do you think these people are going to be when there isn't any?
I know. I've often thought about that too. I know a lot of people want governments to go away, and it's not that I'm a fan of governments, but I really thought, wow, if governments go away, that could wake up a lot of people, because it's like, what do you do? Like, so many people just think that is the way it's always been, because in their world that, the structure's been set up for as long as they've been alive. So yeah. I mean, agree. I think it does help to have state governments, because then there's a little bit of resemblance of some structure there, like you said, that they're used to.
Yeah, and at least some state services. I mean, think about people that have food assistance and whatnot they receive from their respective states, and not only in the U.S., but all over the world. What about healthcare systems that are provided by governments? That happens a lot in Commonwealth nations. So, not that we can't replace them, but, it's, you got to think about every single service. In some countries, electricity and power is provided by the government, their federal government there. And, there's going to be a lot of fast adjustments that are going to need to take place in a very short period of time, regardless of how much money you have. That is, just under 200 countries, and every single one of them has different rules and things that they provide to people. Albeit them usually semi-inefficient, right. Like rolling brownouts in countries that, are, that kind of thing. And in addition to that, we have substandard healthcare systems that aren't there for your health. They're there to keep you alive because they could leverage you, as a human. with that healthcare system. There is a strong tie, which is no longer there, as far as to you personally, as far as what is a global asset. So a global asset, we've talked about the things you think of when you think of assets, oil, gas, commodities, that kind of thing. But you are also considered an asset of a government as a citizen. So, without those, that leverage, there's really not a whole lot left they can do. And then moving into a peacetime operating system for the base root financial system changes their ability to even leverage anything. And this, like I said, it's been like 24 hours since all of this stuff started happening, and then it just steamrolled from there. And how long is it going to take before panic sets in? I don't know.
Panic on their end, Kim? Are you talking about? Okay.
On their end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But how long are they going to go round and round? How long is it going to be before they realize that they can't, anymore? Is there an actual can't?
I don't know. I mean, they seem hell-bent on not wanting to have anybody oversee them. I mean, you think that's the primary reason they're not reaching out to you? Because, I mean, you've kept your promises and the stuff that you say happens. So they're just concerned that you could be a tyrant as well with all of this?
I don't really know. I think I need a special last name.
You need a special title. Well, you have a title, but they don't like that title.
I got too many titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I need a different last name, because even this weekend, remember how I told you they keep going round and round and round and round? Uh-huh. And when one side, when I say there's two sides, but they work together. So we have the Order of the Dragons on the one and the Black Sun on the other, Black Nobility, whatever's left of them. Yeah. So when the Black Nobility fails, in comes the Rothschilds, or in comes the Order of the Dragon. And even this weekend, recently, they have appointed a new head of the Rothschild family. I don't know if they've done it publicly or not. I haven't had a chance to look anywhere. But a younger guy, I don't even think he's quite 40 yet. I think he's in the late 30s. And he is now officially the new head of the family. So since Friday or Saturday, he's been running around barking orders all over the place and doesn't even understand how the world actually works and what tools they have left. I mean, if you lived in a mansion and you had all these butlers and maids and all these things your whole life, right. And you can't afford it anymore, and therefore everybody is let go, you can't call the kitchen and order a sandwich at 2:00 in the morning in your own house like you used to be able to. So, people are kind of looking at this person like, really? But they are still taking orders, like MI6 and some of these other government organizations, GCHQ, which is British Pentagon, essentially.
Do you
NSA.
know who the family member is? Do you know a name?
From what I hear, the gentleman's name is Philip.
Philip Rothschild? It's literally the last name?
Yeah, I don't know if they have several names, Yeah, exactly. I don't know that. Okay. I just know that they call him Philip behind the scenes and doing some checking into this person. Yeah, he makes Chucky look like an angel, like an absolute kind, caring human.
You're kidding. He doesn't have anything crawling up there, calling the shots?
He might be on something.
Well, that's probably good.
Yeah, they don't get anything to crawl up in there until they're 40. So okay, 40 is when the ceremony would take place.
Just missed the deadline.
Yeah.
A little too soon. Just a little too soon.
Yeah. I know. Just a little too soon. And there's nobody down there to crawl up in there either.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's a problem.
Nobody could be on something for sure. He's very erratic, very emotional thinking, very I want it now, kind of Veruca Salt from what's that movie? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want it now. Yes.
I want it now. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Well, they just don't realize how far the world has actually come and how much has changed. I mean, even if that old BlackRock operating system was still tied to an Omega system and still functioned, there is no way it's going to take over the financial system. It wasn't built for that, because there's no alien race that is going to come back and rebuild it and fix it for you. So the whole operating system for, BlackRock and Vanguard and all of these things that they keep trying was based on alien technology again. Yeah. And they don't have that anymore. So the processing speeds and times to process the, worldwide financial transaction system, especially since they're pushing everybody towards digital transacting, that's another 70% of the world's humans that are going to transact in a different way. You can't even cover what we have now. It's predominantly the Western world and, I guess China and some Asian countries too, but for the most part, the rest of the world deals in cash. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of unbanked as well.
Yep.
There are over 1 billion people on the African continent. Mm-hmm. A lot of the Middle East, transactions are done in cash as well, between normal, everyday citizens. So, and shop owners can't afford to have, credit card processing and all that kind of stuff. It's very expensive, time consuming, and it takes weeks sometimes to get paid no matter where you are. So, well, I appreciate their thought processes. Please, for the love of Christ, hire some computer IT people that understand processing speeds and quantum computing and anything. And they will tell you that there's no way you can process that much data utilizing this software, this system, this bit of analytics. They will tell you.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you,
truth.
Don't trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they want anyone telling them that everything's falling apart. I think they just want to live in their own world, But that doesn't mean it's not falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah. You're out for a sail and there's a hole in the boat. I can tell you that there's a hole in the boat. You can deny that there's a hole in the boat, but eventually you're still going to sink. Mm-hmm. You can get all the pails you want and start shoveling, bailing out water from the boat, but that's only going to help you for so long. Mm-hmm. And you're out of pails and you're out of buckets and you're out of ways to, get rid of the water in the ship. It's sinking. So, God bless them. And there's nothing, the problem that I have is that they're taking down structures that human beings recognize as a savior. Yeah. You're like, from also what I anticipate is going to happen is the talk behind the scenes with the Trump people after this failure this weekend is that they are going to use a loophole before the sentencing to get him off from the 34 federal convictions. So I'm hearing that behind the scenes. I don't know if that's come out in the news yet, but if not, it will soon, because they can't afford not to have a cash cow, at least from now until November.
Right.
What a mess. I mean, these people are a hot mess.
It's a circus.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's a circus, but you got to keep up with the circus because you never know what they're going to do, or if they're going to use some technology they don't understand that they think is going to give them control of a financial system. And in actuality, it will cause a pole reversal or something. Oh, gosh. Something we missed. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of watch them. They're like little kids in a big boy toy shop.
Right.
Trying to play with guns that they know nothing about. But as far as us, and on our side of it, we are doing fine. This peace agreement should help us a lot with new rules to the system. We have been working on reprogramming operating systems of financial institutions to coordinate, I should say, coordinate's probably not the right word, to work more efficiently with the global repository, converting things more over to DEX systems, Wells Fargo away from Apple operating systems, and those kind of things, so that we can go to Codex 685 across the board. Now, you've got to replicate some softwares. There's a number of different banking softwares, analytics softwares, market softwares, and that type of thing that got to go along with that. So it's going to be a little bit of a process to finish that off, but I don't think it'll take too long. You know, hopefully between now and the end of the week. We started doing all of that yesterday. So now we can take out the bond requirements, derivative requirements, all of those types of things that are permissible under global martial law, which we re-upped, as you know. And now we just need to convert everything over to a different source code, where we're looking at more of an asset-based system. You are not an asset in this system, that kind of thing. So hopefully in the very near future. I'm tired. I'd like a vacation.
I know.
I know you're tired too. You're probably tired of me moving right along here, but
no, we're grateful that you're doing what you're doing. It's just, we just all wish, including you, wish this process didn't take as long. And it feels like a little bit like Groundhog Day. A little bit.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
it's actually, see, you know, I've hesitated, and I do need to put out the updated notes on our news app so that people can read them. You know, I can give you the blow by blow on the news of every single operating system that's being changed, of every single thing we do all day. I mean, it's not 10 hours a day or 12 hours or sometimes longer of Groundhog Day for sure. Not in any way, shape, or form. Every day it's something different, and every day it's something new. And every day, I'm not going to say new, I'm going to say it's something old that we've discovered. And it's like diffusing a bomb, because if you pull the wrong wire first, you know, then the whole thing's going to blow up. So you've got to do it piece by piece. It's like an onion, and it's long and it's arduous. And, you know, we've had multiple opportunities to employ help. Like, we've had multiple opportunities to bring in some operatives. You know, they want us to do our thing first. They don't want to look at any alternative transfer systems or anything like that. And that's fine. You know, and part of that, I'm sure, is due to the fact that, you know, there's still, some of them are still getting on those calls, you know, waiting for an answer if they're getting a contract or not. Half of them are not expecting it, but maybe some of them still are. I don't know. And some of them are still like trying to, their ego will not permit them to, I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible, so forgive me, to allow for an other thought process other than one that comes from their brain, because they know better than everybody else. They've been doing this longer. They believed that they were successful in what they did in the past, but that actually is not true, because you had a lot of support, even though you felt like you were out there alone structuring the entire operation. You were not. And there was always an end result that was to be achieved. You know, there's so much more to this world than political games and presidents and that type of thing. We did not have presidents when this all started, and we may not have presidents when this all ends.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I wish we could go back, you know, to 250,000 years ago when things were better, people were better, we worked together differently, you know, we We had a lot of trade going on in the world. There was no crime. There was people that would sit in source all day long and get information and messages on what they need to do next and where to go and what to do. And then they would spread the information amongst all the people in the tribe. So, you know, the world was just a different place. We've overcomplicated it. We've allowed them to structure systems, and by them I'm not talking about the humans. We've allowed them to structure systems where we can barely function, let alone sit and source all day, you know, and have that be your job. You know, it's just gone too far. We've got a lot of systems to fix in order for people to feel like they can thrive. And that's going to take a lot of leadership and a lot of prep work. But like I said, if governments go, you got to really take a look at all the things and all the people that rely on Social Security or retirement pay or, you know, those types of things that come from a government. You know, maybe they worked for the government for 20, 30 years. We have to take a look at those people. Yes, essentials can cover that, but do you know how long it takes to actually, you know, do your research? You know, I did a video on that about life assurance. But do your research. How long does it take to issue an entire card network that operates independently and for a specific purpose? Meaning you can't go buy whatever you want with it. You know, if it's life assurance, it's for health needs, that type of thing. So, you know, it's a lot of programming and it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. You know, we're trying to put interim things in place. You know, we are in beta testing for the marketplace, so that's good. You know, we're fixing glitches as we find them, you know, from vendors and from buyers or fake buyers, so to speak. So we're getting there on that. But it's a process, and it's been a lot of work on a lot of people's part to make all this stuff happen.
Kim, you cut out there
you know,
for a
all of
second.
you.
Can you just repeat that last line? You said it's a process, and then we didn't hear you.
And it takes a lot of work.
Okay.
To make all of this happen. I guess they don't like our marketplace over there in
don't tell
NSA
them
land
about
or
another
whatever.
way to buy goods.
Well, and then, you know, it'll start there, and then it will morph into an intranet for educational purposes,
Right.
for different ages as well. Instead of people going on YouTube and trying to figure out how to do something, or our kids learning from the wrong place. And what I mean by an intranet, the marketplace can also serve as a place where we can source the information from parents, you know, nutritional information. It will have a rewarding system. They can earn things like trips if they get enough positive points, you know, passing little quizzes and this and that. It just changes it from a degrading system to a system where children are being rewarded. And in a lot of places in the world, if they won some shoes, you know, you can save up your points and get, you know, a pair of shoes or tennis shoes or clothes from someplace else in the world or whatever. You know, you can, it's your pick. You can get gift cards to a local grocery store or market, you know, and if that's what you need for your family. So, you know, then they're going to want to learn. They're going to want to take the quizzes. They're going to want to do all of that because it's going to allow for them to have a little bit of an allowance and have a little bit of a feeling of, you know, responsibility, start to learn how money works, you know, even though it's point systems and whatnot, but you learn how money works and you can buy things from the marketplace and all that kind of stuff. You know, the same thing, you know, that there is a limited amount of adult education out there too. If you want to learn a new trade or you want to, you know, most people are raising a family, you know, and if you didn't go to school when you were younger, what are you going to do now? Right. You know, that kind of thing. And you've got kids and, you know, what if you wanted to do something different, Sonny? You went to school for journalism. Let's just say you didn't want to do that anymore. You know, you raising all these kids. How are you going to go through another 4 years of school for something? Yeah. You know, and I realize there's online university and things like that. But it's still this arduous process of learning a whole bunch of stuff that you'll never, ever use, ever in your life, because it's a credit system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we need to figure out something else. I mean, sure, there's a lot to learn if you want to be a doctor, but wouldn't it be better to learn that side by side with someone who's actually practicing?
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about, you know, other professions like being an electrician or being a, you know, I mean, a farmer, or, you know, yeah, you can go to school and you can learn all about seeds and all of these new things, but you can also attend a 3-day seminar on the weekend and learn just as much about new ways of fertilizing your farm. You know, there's so much stuff out there, you know. The whole thing just needs to be restructured. But a safe place for kids to learn, I think, is a good place to start. Also, you know, an agricultural internet where farmers can trade with each other for grain, for cattle, or, you know, vice versa, or, you know, those types of things to make it more affordable to farm. Mm-hmm. You know, new types of equipment, new innovations, new technologies, new ways of doing things, new ways of being in affordable ways to farm. So this is the next step. You know, these are the next steps for the marketplace, not only for all of you to share all of your creativity with the world, but also to, you know, start with those types of things. And then, of course, you've got a lot of doctors, like, for example, that maybe lived in Brazil and they were a practicing doctor for 30 years, and then they moved to the States and they can no longer practice without going through, you know, exactly, but they're still a doctor.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, in some countries, naturopathic medicine is not permitted, you know, especially if you are subject to a national health service. You can't look at alternatives. So there has to, you know, you can get assurance out there all you want, but if the resources aren't there in those particular areas, and in some places it's 100 miles to the nearest clinic or hospital. So, you know, we really have to take a look at all that stuff. But the marketplace can also serve in part, maybe possibly as an online, you know, advisor for, and those types of things for those that are licensed to practice or are practitioners of all kinds of different things. So I think, you know, I know it seems like it's taken a long time, but a few months is not a long time to launch something that has the fortitude to support all of these things that are going to be happening in the future. Yeah. So hopefully, you know, I'll have more information on Friday's news about that and the progress that we're making there. So we're putting everything in place to go forward. You know, we're not holding back. I realize it feels like they're doing the same thing. And pretty much, you know, with a few little twists and turns, they are, you know. And I wish cleaning was faster. But we've got a few thousand pages of notes that will tell you it's just not. You know.
I know.
Well, and then, you know, until recently, you know, we've had the issue too where, you know, we manifest things on our side, they manifest things on their side, you know, until those rules were broken. But that didn't help us any. You know, we'd go to this location and we'd get everything that's there today, and tomorrow we're back there cleaning up something different in the same place. So, you know, most of those people are gone that really understand it. And I think the ones that are left are, you know, not there. I don't think they understand, you know, but inadvertently they still do things because they want something. So
how is that going, Kim, with transmuting the darkness into light?
Well, you know, like anything else too, it's an ebb and a flow. So they, you know, will be at like 98% or 99%, and then the next morning we'll wake up at 96 because they've been doing something overnight, which is putting all of their focus on that thing, and then it starts to like manifest itself. It doesn't necessarily come into full fruition, but it still starts to manifest itself to some degree or another. So you know, just like you do sometimes we're our own worst enemy, right? We accidentally manifest something in our lives that we've been desperately fearing or trying to avoid because we keep fearing it and trying to avoid it. You know, they're doing inadvertently and unknowingly trying to manifest something into this world. So it doesn't go that far anymore, but it is definitely a little bit of an ebb and a flow. And sometimes some of these operating systems were tied to your person, you know, some of the cleaning as well. And that causes a disturbance with yourself, you know, from time to time, you know, feeling like brain foggy or something like that for a little while until it dissipates. So, you know, it's been a little bit of up and down, ebb and flow, you know, extremely low frequencies that they try to send out. Those kind of things are disturbing. So, you know, I try not to, if there's nothing to be fearful of, because fear is not going to make something go away. Yeah. But if there's nothing left for you to be concerned about, I usually try not to talk about it, because if we do, it can create a lot of fear, and I don't want you to focus on something that is just not healthy for all of us. We need you little light workers out there to kick some light butt. That's what you need to do. Think positively, spend time with family, do something creative in your world, you know, and manifest positivity for this planet and for yourself constantly, because what you're doing is counteracting everything they're trying to do just as much as I am. Okay. So that being said, that's pretty much all of the things that were going on this weekend. I will try to get those notes together and get them posted so you can have all the updates as to what's been going on behind the scenes. And like you said, there were some people that listened to some calls that were put out there of ours, and you know, there's dead air, there's time in between, there's, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in some of those calls, and it's a group effort. You know, we're all working towards the same thing, as are you. So yeah, a lot of work for sure. Still looking forward to that vacation.
I know. We're manifesting that for you, Kim.
Yeah, me too.
Help you with that.
I'm going to play some Jimmy Buffett or something, and maybe that'll take me to like a vacation in the Keys or
exactly.
somewhere.
All right. Thanks for the update, Kim. Appreciate it.
Have a great Monday.
All right. You too.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN Meme of the Day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.